Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Charisse Marie, your enthusiastic guide on this journey to unlocking prosperity and manifesting your dreams into reality. We're thrilled to bring you insightful conversations with trailblazers who've turned their visions into abundant lives. These guests offer invaluable lessons from their own experiences, lessons designed not just to inspire, but to crystallize action and create wealth in every sense. Remember, you have the power to manifest abundance beyond measure. Together, let's unlock doors to prosperity, one episode at a time.
Oh, good afternoon. Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Forum. Much gratitude to Charisse and Sylvia and the gang for inviting me into this space. I was one of those people that was not going to be at all an expert in wealth building. And it took a bit for me to, because I wouldn't want to take financial advice from me. But what I have gotten really good at is financial resilience and kind of accidentally amassing some assets. So I'm going to tell you how I decolonized my mind and my life and began crafting for myself a life that is much more resilient and does not depend so much on the comings and goings of whatever the political shenanigans of the day might be. So this talk, which I'm titling "Decolonize Your Life in Times of Uncertainty," this is what I did in 2020. So when I had my crisis in 2020, that when I looked at the pandemic and I saw that the world was collapsing around me, I realized that I needed to look very deeply at myself, excuse me, and begin making observations about myself, about how my thoughts, behaviors, actions, and activities were either contributing to my well-being or were somehow disempowering me or leading to my unwellness. And so there's several things that I did as part of that process. And I'm going to kind of give you like the overview, here's the core nuggets. We're going to get really real, and I'm going to give it to you just bare bones. I am offering a workshop, which it's not the one that you're going to get the link to, but I am offering a workshop on Black Friday. So if you happen to be one of those people who wants to boycott the incoming regime by not spending money on Black Friday, I'm also running a bunch of meditations. So reach out to me, DM me, message me, connect with me. But we're going to start. So how to decolonize your life in times of uncertainty. The first thing you have to do is you have to take your finances by the horn. And that means a lot of things. That means looking at all of your expenditures. And for me, the one that was the most surprising kind of unconscious hemorrhaging of money was all the subscriptions that I had subscribed to, right? There was the Netflix and the Amazon and the this and the that and the other. And I took that opportunity to just get rid of all except I paid for Spotify because I was using that professionally and I wanted to make sure I had one without ads. So, and I got rid of everything else. Now, my partner, he kept a few, right? He has his favorites. And so we shared those. And then I sort of, as things got more stable in my life, I expanded back out a bit. But check your regular spending habits. And then just take a couple of months worth of your checking account and literally, it's going to sound so tedious and so boring, but go line by line and see where your money is going. And with every single thing, ask yourself, is that where I really want my money to go? And then the fun part about all this is to look at your assets. Because the thing is, our assets can appear in a variety of forms, and they can be manipulated and leveraged in a variety of ways. And I'm going to tell you the way I did it. It's not going to be the same for everybody. It's really going to depend on what kinds of assets you have and how liquid they are and how tied they are to your residence, for example. So the first asset I got rid of was my car. I sold my car and I used that to pay for my shaman training. So sold the car, paid for my shamanic energy medicine training program with the Four Winds Society. That was like, whew. And I want to kind of pause for a moment here and take a slight detour, because one of the things they teach us in that training program is about something that Alberto Villoldo calls the momentum tunnel. I'm using my hands right here. So the momentum tunnel is, here's where we're going in life. We're probably barreling down the highway at whatever direction we think we're supposed to be going in. And then all of a sudden we have an epiphany that we actually need to be going over there. What happens if you're barreling down the highway and you need to make a sharp turn is that all of your baggage, if you've got too much baggage, and baggage is two things. Baggage is physical stuff and baggage is emotional baggage. In both of those instances, if you have to make a shift quickly, you're going to lose a lot. And so my best advice to you right now is to just start looking around to see what you can offload, what you can sell. What do you have that you can sell, that you can re-leverage to put you in a better position in some other area of your life? So look at what you can sell, look at what you can, for some people, refinancing their house is a good idea. Depending on what the interest rates are, I am not normally a fan of that, and I'm definitely not the person to ask. You should ask your financial advisor, but do have a financial advisor and do ask one. Here's what we did. When everything was happening and when there were big shifts happening in my life, and it was right after I walked away from my full-time position as a professor at a university, and I kind of started to realize that things were not going to be shifting right into high gear with my business as I thought they were going to, and we needed to make a very quick decision about how we were going to shift our assets. So it just so happened that moment was the peak of the real estate market in the city where we lived, in the state where we lived. And so we doubled the equity on our house by selling right at that time. Things have since kind of plateaued or gone down a little bit. So that actually, to me, felt like a divine gift from the universe. Because with the money from that sale of that house, we were able to move cross country, pay cash for the house we live in here, this house I'm in right now. We have no mortgage. Having no mortgage is incredibly liberating if you want to immediately start reinventing your life exactly the way you want to and not being a slave to the monthly bill cycle. We also had money left over that for my partner to pay off his debt, for me to have enough money to pay a 1-year lease on a 3-bedroom house in my favorite town on the beach in Bahia, Brazil, where I spent the next year learning how to grieve creatively, because at the same time that all this was happening, my mother passed away. So keep that little grieving creatively, side note in your head for a little while, because I'm going to come back to that at the very end. But that's what we did. So we took a good hard look at what we together had as assets that we could leverage. And because of that, I have a much freer life today than I did 4 years ago. And I'm going to ask you to ask yourself a question. Do you feel like your healthcare is being held hostage by your job? So Canadians and Europeans, that's not going to be relevant to you because most civilized countries on the planet actually have public healthcare, but not here in the United States. So I don't have healthcare. And I don't really care, actually. And I know that for people who have very serious health conditions, this is not really an option for them. And so you really need to ask your own medical care provider. What I did is I went with services that I just pay cash for. I went with a naturopath, an acupuncturist, an energy worker, a therapist. Actually, at the time, my therapist was accepting insurance, but increasingly not all of them are. And so and then I had my shamanic energy medicine training. And so what I did is I reinvented my life to create the conditions for health so that I don't have to have my healthcare be held hostage by my job. So that's how I took my finances by the horn. So you can, do those analyses for yourself and figure out where you can completely reshift how you're spending. And I would say spend consciously. I have never been a fan of Black Friday. I call it Buy Nothing Friday, because what you should do is, instead of going on Black Friday and spending all of your money, what you should do, and I hate the word should, but what one can do instead, if one would like to be a conscious spender, is to say, okay, I'm going to choose 3 locally owned businesses, bookshops, gift shops, whatever, 3 locally owned businesses, and I'm going to visit them before Black Friday. And then I'm going to commit to visiting them 2 or 3 times throughout the year, because that is healthier for our local economies. And that is, again, a way to decolonize your life and your financial situation. Now, the other thing, which I'm not going to get into too much detail, that you can do is, and pardon my politics, but Republicans have been getting away with hiding their income for decades. So we're basically just going to take a playbook out of their book, and you're going to look at your finances and make sure that whatever you do, you can make it seem like you made as little money as possible. And so for those of us who run our own business, that essentially means if you have a lot of money coming in, then you get to spend more on your business. And then at the end of the year, you still aren't showing enough of a profit to be charged that much in taxes. So that's the other way to fly under the radar and decolonize your life. There are benefits to flying under the radar. Okay, number 2. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 of them. The others are not quite as long as the finances. Number 2, anytime you're in a period of uncertainty, the best thing to do is to connect to your community, however you define that, whether it's your local community, your friends and family, whatever digital community that you belong to, whoever you consider to be your community. Start making an effort to reach out more. Start making an effort to just get together more often, find out what people are doing more often, find out what people's needs are. And then here's the other thing I'm going to do, because in the coming years, or probably months even, you're going to want to make sure you have some barometers for our social well-being. So I want you to ask yourself if you know anyone who is a journalist. And I know that here in the United States, journalists are an endangered species already. And if you find that you don't know any one journalist personally, then what I want you to do is I want you to choose 1 or 2 just public journalists that you can follow on their social media, whichever one whose opinion and insights you really trust and value. And just check in with them once a week. Check their feed once a week and just see what they're talking about. And if they stop posting, that's when you need to worry. Then I want you to also make a list of 2 or 3 people you know personally who are activists, who are grassroots activists working in community well-being, community safety, sociologists, people who are working for self-liberation and the liberation of their communities, people who are looking to protect their communities from police violence. Find out who in your group of friends are the activists. And again, check in with them once a week. How are they doing? How's the scene? Be supportive. If you don't have the energy to go on marches and walk and do the things that the activists are doing, be the one that can support them when they are doing that. And again, check in with them weekly. They'll be the barometer to know how things are going. And if you don't know any, then I highly recommend you figure out what is your most impassioned political cause, find out who are the public activists talking about that, and just follow them on social media. Or if you're not on social media, find a way to check in with them weekly. I want you to make a list of the people in your circle who are queer or trans, and I want you to make sure that you are checking in with them weekly. A lot of folks in that community are really scared for their physical safety right now. And so it's really important that we are supportive allies, we are loving allies, we are accepting allies, and that whatever space we can hold for them, we do. And we check in with them on a regular basis to see how they're doing. And that includes any other minoritized voice that you know of in your community, people who are from non-Christian religions, people who are atheists, pagans, or not religious, people who are people of color or indigenous people, the ones who have historically not had their voices held up by the mainstream. Check in with them. Again, just check in. If once a week feels like too much, find whatever is the regular time that you can check in with your friends who are in the more fragile position than you are, and make sure that you can be supportive for them. And that is how we all can decolonize our hyperdependence on the state for public safety, right? Okay, that's number 2. Don't know how I'm doing on time. Oh. Okay, I'm doing okay on time. Number 3 is your media diet. And I think for many people, in order for them to really decolonize their lives, they actually have to go on a media fast. And that means no social media, that you maintain only the very basic forms of communication that you need to run your life, like email or text or phone or whatever. But you avoid watching the news, you avoid watching anything on YouTube or social media. I know that for a lot of people, they can't even understand how they can do that. And so if you're in a position that you can't even begin to comprehend how to live without a screen, then you need a diet, a media diet. And a media diet is where you get to consciously choose what you want your ratio to be of what your limit is for, okay, I can consume the news for 10 minutes in the morning, and then I don't want to hear about it for the rest of the day. 10 minutes in the morning, I'll make sure we're not blowing ourselves up off the planet, and then I'll go back about my day. And if that's too much, then maybe when you get your Sunday paper, before you go to the crossword, just kind of look at the summary of what's been going on this week to make sure you're informed if you feel that way. But put yourself on a media diet, on a conscious media diet. Because here's the thing. They've been saying for a long time that we are no longer in the market of industries or technology. We are in the market of information. Information has become the most valuable commodity. And that also means that we can and should and need to be very conscious of the information we are receiving and the information we are putting out there. I think, in case you weren't sure, it's probably safe to say that from now on, all of these public platforms are being surveilled. So welcome to it, right? And it might be important to just keep that conscious awareness that our words have power, that our words can be chosen carefully and consciously. So even if you are, let's say, for example, not in favor of whatever the current regime is, we can speak our words carefully and consciously to speak our truth and not hide our truth, and yet avoid words and phrases that might be the most inflammatory, right? So in your media diet, it is also how you present yourself that you can put on. Don't spew or regurgitate things that you aren't sure about. Make sure that if something comes in that it's upsetting to you, that before you just click and reshare, you pause and you say, okay, what is that? What's behind that? Is this something that I should share? Is this something that I need to share? Is this something that I should just process myself? So having a media diet is an incredibly important practice for decolonizing your life. And that's not just in times of uncertainty. That's just good media hygiene. Okay, so number 4. Okay, here we go. Number 4 is the biggest one of all. Number 4 is decolonizing your mind. Decolonizing your mind. Free your mind. Free your mind, and the rest will follow. So I have a whole workshop in decolonizing your mind. I'm going to be offering it on Black Friday. Again, reach out to me if you want it. But here's what we do when we decolonize our mind. We take a look at our beliefs. What do we believe? We ask ourselves, why do we believe that? And we ask ourselves, where did that belief come from? Where did I inherit that belief? And then, this is the juicy part. This is the good part. Then we get to ask ourselves, is that true? Is that really true? Is that really the deepest, most authentic truth to me? And if not, then how can we shift that belief? And so a lot of beliefs that come through that are limiting beliefs for a lot of people, they come from patriarchy, right? It's not that men are bad, it's that patriarchy as a system is imbalanced and harmful to women and people who are not cisgendered male. So patriarchy has a set of beliefs that has been somewhat spoon-fed to us our whole lives. And in order for us to change that belief, we have to recognize it and understand where it came from and create a new belief and bring that new belief in. The new belief that all human beings, regardless of their gender, have incredible offerings for the world. When we can channel that belief into our system, then it helps us operate more in line with those beliefs. The other thing that we have to do is we have to start looking at where our triggers come from, because our triggers are usually a pretty good clue that there is some deep healing that needs to go on there. And in the case of what we're facing here in the United States, we're facing a country that's very divided, a country that is very divided. And so what we have to do, if we want to continue being a nation, if we want to share the name, the United States of America, if we want to share that name and we are that divided, we really have to ask ourselves, who are we? And I have on my YouTube channel a Temple of Grief that I've been doing, and I encourage you to watch it if you're curious, because what I have been doing is I have been grieving for the democracy that was the so-called United States of America. And for me, that's really helpful, not to just be scared or dramatic or doomsday about it, but just to acknowledge that the institutions that I believe in are not working for me. And so I have to decide what my identity is. And I don't think it's enough to just say, oh, I'm a citizen of the world, and that's fine. I think we have to really call in, okay, what are my values, my personal values, not the ones I inherited from my church or from my school or from my parents or from my, abusive ex-relationship or from my abusive childhood. Those beliefs that we are either inheriting or are being conditioned to believe, they take a little time. They take a little time to release. And it also takes the conscious effort to call in the new beliefs, the new truth, the higher truth. And a couple of other tools that I use to really re-examine your beliefs and decolonize your mind. There is a dream practice that I've been working on with a practitioner in Germany who's a licensed psychotherapist and has been working with dreams for decades. He calls it integral deep listening. And what we do in integral deep listening is we examine all aspects of ourselves. It's easy to start with dream figures because dream figures are so rich with imagery. They often have so much to tell us in very surprising ways. But you can also do this process on a life issue or a current political scenario, for example. You can tap into where in your body you are feeling whatever is the discomfort, distress, whatever. And you can imagine it into a form that you then dialogue with. And what can be very, very insightful is to actually dialogue with nightmarish figures, or, for example, grotesque public figures that we would rather not see, that we would rather not look at, that we would rather stay in the shadows. Well, guess what? They've come out of the shadows. Here they are in their full grotesque glory. And we are here to observe. We are here to witness. And what integral deep listening does, it allows us to entertain and accept a whole variety of perspectives. We don't always have to follow what they say or do, but we can listen to them, and we can be open to a broader diversity of perspectives than we would if we did not engage in this practice. And right now, frankly, being able to entertain a diversity of perspectives is probably the most essential skill to have in these so-called United States of America. So, if you would like to do a deep dive on this, let me know, because the workshop happens on Black Friday. All right, I'm not done yet. There's 2 more points. 2 more points to how to decolonize your life. You have to defend yourself from toxic relationships. Because for many of us who grew up in families with very, very, very different viewpoints, it feels toxic even just to have a conversation with them about issues that we care about. Because the issues that we care about are very dear to us. And when we try to engage in dialogue and there's that massive just butting heads about things that we hold dear, it makes it very difficult. And so it's important that we each, especially with the holidays coming, the holidays are coming up. And if you have to go visit your family, and if you're the black sheep, or if you're the one who, is the queer one, or the one that is the activist or the artist or the weirdo or whatever, it can be very stressful. It can be very stressful. And so there are things we could do. In shamanic energy medicine, we actually have something that we can install for you called the bands of power and protection. And we install them, and then you build them with your intention. And when you build them with your intention, you basically strengthen your ability to withstand whatever attacks come your way. Whatever comes your way just bounces right off you. And so it allows us to feel safe and protected as we go about our daily lives. Also, just a regular spiritual cleansing of some sort, especially, right before and right after you go see family who might have toxic relationships. Do just practice whatever is your own good spiritual practice, your breathing practice, your meditation practice, so that you can stay grounded and centered and not triggered by whatever's going on in the world. And breathe through your triggers, accept them as a normal way to respond for your life situation, right? If I have been triggered for a reason that is particular to me, yes, it's totally natural to feel triggered. Accept it. It is totally natural to feel triggered. And then just breathe through it and let it flow out of you. Just breathe and let the trigger flow out of you. And the technique I use is from a woman in the UK named Chloe Cousins. Connect, accept, detach. When you feel the trigger, go ahead and feel it. Accept it as normal and natural, and then let it pass. Breathing all the way through it. So the last aspect to decolonizing your life is your imagination. Imagining the world you want to see. Imagining, co-creating, building, dreaming, visualizing the way you really want to see the world. When we have that kind of focus, whatever it is, dialoguing with your dreams, meditation, shamanic journeying, whatever is your preferred practice of stimulating and cultivating your imagination, that's the key to what's going to bring you out of this this relationship between the power structure If it's making you feel constricted and like you hate it and you don't want to be in it, then these are skills that can help you loosen up that control that it has over you so that you can walk more freely in the world. So what I'm going to tell you about now is the grief program that I am running, which starts on Friday. So when Charisse invited me to this, I was like, well, the timing is right. So the grief program that I run is a program called Creative Grieving. And I think Sylvia's going to pop the ticker tape there. If you want to join me for the Creative Grieving group in the winter 2024 cohort, this to me is the foundation for all healing. Because when we can consciously and creatively grieve for the losses we've experienced, for the version of ourselves we can no longer be, for the version of this country that we can no longer be, when we meet together in a sacred space, in a group, and we share that space with each other, and we stimulate each other's ability to express ourselves creatively, that helps to take whatever's going through you, whatever angst, rage, despair, whatever it is, whatever is going through you as a result of the situation right now. We, the artists, we, the storytellers, we are the ones that will share what is important to us right now through into whatever the future may bring for us. So if you would like to learn what it is to grieve creatively, click the link. If you would like a payment plan or discounts, I do have discounts, payment plans available. Just reach out to me and I will send you a link. I can do 3-month payments, or I have, I think, a 25% discount that I can offer. So check it out. I would love to see you there. This feels like the work that will see us through the darkness. That is the thing that I have committed to. The day after the election, I said, I'm keeping the light on in the darkness. I'm here for it. I'm here for all of us. I'm here so that we can see in each other, in all of the different each others, that we are always us. It is always us that inhabits the planet. So thank you again to the folks at the Infinite Wealth Forum. Thank you again, Charisse and Sylvia and team. I'm Laurelann Porter. I'm a shamanic artist. I'll see you soon.
I'm Charisse Marie, and I'm grateful you joined us today as we explored the boundless potential within each of us to manifest a life rich in all dimensions. We love hearing your thoughts and stories, so don't hesitate to reach out and join our growing community of like-minded visionaries. Until next time, keep dreaming big and manifesting boldly. And remember, you have the power to create a world of infinite wealth and limitless opportunities. Together, let's continue paving this path to prosperity. Take care, stay inspired, and as always, dream on.